Have you ever considered what your jewellery, watches or art is worth? You should contact our friends at Dawson's Auctioneers and Valuers for excellent sales advice. They promote your valuables online to a worldwide audience to ensure you get the highest possible price for them. So if you are looking to see if you have any hidden treasures, jewellery, silver, gold, watches, art or even entertainment and sports memorabilia, make sure you contact the experts at Dawson's Auctioneers. Telephone 0207 431 9445 or email valuations@dawsonsauctions.co.uk. You can also check out their website for more info at www.dawsonsauctioneers.co.uk. Hello and welcome to Sillett and Reevesy's podcast. My name's Darren Reeves.
My name's Neil Sillett.
And we are
Sillett and Reevesy.
There we go. So this is podcast number 10, Sill. And we've had a week off, haven't we? Because you've been away.
I have been away, yeah. Little jaunt. We had a golf break ourselves, didn't we?
We did.
The Goodwood Dignity Golf Society, which was played in rather wet conditions in a fantastic place, actually.
It's the wettest I've ever got playing golf, I reckon.
I'm still suffering. It went right through me on
Sounds
day
like
two.
an Elton John song.
Yeah. It was great fun,
yeah,
and a great venue. The food and the way they looked after us at Springs in Wallingford, Oxfordshire, was fantastic. And considering the amount of rain that was there and how close the course is to the Thames,
yeah.
The course played really well, and we had a great fun. We ended up on the losing team, didn't we? But
well, Sill, I was a little bit disappointed in my playing partners. You know, we're doing blues against whites.
Yeah.
And I came in and won my singles match, but Sill, I think you let yourself down to a Geordie, didn't you?
I did indeed. Yeah, the Geordie took a point off me, but then we took a point and a half from him on the.
So you were net up, weren't you?
Half a point,
yeah, whereas I was half a point down over the.
Oh, well,
over there. I lost the
so
match.
So you started this little conversation by saying you left, but you were disappointed in your partners, and I actually got a point on you. But there you go.
Oh God damn
it!
You're
move
right.
on from that anyway.
Yeah.
But
we had a great weekend. The Springs in Wallingford.
Yeah,
the Springs Resort in Wallingford. It was a definite thumbs up from me.
A little few days with my daughter in Cyprus. So that was. She had a week off and decided she needed to go away.
Yep.
So of course I chaperoned her. And
I think it was only right. And not being funny, you know, your daughter Darcy, she's now, I don't know, was she 19 or 20, something like that? You know, how often does she want to go on holiday with her parents?
Well, every bloody week.
Well, by the seams of it, you know. But you know what? I think it's brilliant. You can still make the most of that as well. Because I know I didn't go on holiday with my parents once I turned 15. I think I'd gone. No, I'm fed up with that.
We've got. Sorry, do you remember Sorry?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Ronnie Corbett?
Yes.
Yeah, Frankie and Darcy, a bit like that, I think. They've even said, can we go on holiday next year? Can we book it now? So one of my other boys, Ollie's getting married in September in Mallorca, so they've already decided they're coming with us in one building. So
right, stop paying for him, Sil. Stop paying for him. This is the thing.
No, she did pay for herself on this one.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Oh, well, good on her. Well done, Darcy. Yeah. If you're listening or watching, you'll be checking the quality out.
Yeah,
that's what I like.
Will, yeah.
So, Sil, because we were away, there's a big match football last weekend, which was Man City versus Arsenal.
Yep.
Which I always thought they're either going to cancel themselves out and have a 0-0 or a 4-4.
Yep.
And they got a 2-2. They got halfway between and. Arsenal were there over the line after 90 minutes, but you just felt that there was going to be something happening, and it did.
It did.
Now, it feels like a long time ago. So much has happened in sport since, like it does every week, so fast-moving. What can you tell me about the match?
Well, Arsenal got into the lead, and then they had a man sent off. Mm-hmm. And again, there's a lot of controversy about, the first one of the two yellow cards, but some of these fouls and some of the decisions that are going on at the moment, the players aren't helping themselves at all, in my opinion. Like the one yesterday, the penalty at Everton for the Newcastle. He's picked him up and thrown him to the floor in the own penalty box, and you hear the term a lot. If it happened anywhere else on the pitch, it would be a foul.
Yes.
But why do it in your own penalty box? And I see that an awful lot. I think it's a weakness in defensive duties these days, or defensive techniques, that they have to grab an opponent in their penalty box. You should be, touch tight, and there's a lot of blocking goes on, a lot of movement, but you should be able to judge the flight of the ball and see the ball and see the player, and that should be enough.
Yeah.
I think any contact where they're wrapping their arms around each other should be pulled up immediately, and that rule's got to be used hard and fast.
Well, they do seem to be pulling it up, don't they?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
So, but Trossard getting sent off for Arsenal at Man City. Come on, mate, that's silly. But it was he did just kick the ball away, didn't he? Was one of the things he did.
One of the cards, and that's stupid.
That's it. It's really stupid. So he's let his team down massively, and that's 2 points that.
I would have heard the term many times. Don't give the referee a chance to send you off, and don't give him an excuse to do it.
If you don't know, that's the great Jim Smith.
Shots and crosses equals goals, and don't give the fucking referee a chance to send you off, because he'll love to do that. That was one of his things before the lads walked out of the door in the change rooms. And
he's absolutely right.
He is right. Don't
absolutely
give him a chance.
Right.
It's an excuse. You can make all the excuses on the sun, but there are certain players that don't ever get sent off. Yeah. And there's a reason for that, but it's because they take that advice and they don't do it.
That's something we'll talk about in a minute, actually.
Right.
Because when we get to check,
teaching, not preaching. Because don't do as I did.
Well, yes, and I've heard some stories about you at Coventry back in the day. Yeah. But so the other thing that happened in that match was Rodri got injured.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's going to be out for most of the season?
I think they're saying most of the season.
Wow. Okay, and he's a huge player for them, because their stats when Rodri is playing, or their win ratio, he's been like above anybody else,
charts,
above and beyond. So that's a weakness for Man City. But his replacement Kovacic has come in and actually doing the job.
Yep.
But there does seem to be some frailties within there that people can unpick. And move forward, and definitely Arsenal seem to be even stronger than they were last season. And do they need to be winning at City
they've got their
to win
injuries.
the league?
You know, Odegaard is out for a bit, but Rodri's injury, the significance of that, I think you saw in yesterday's game against Fulham. In as much as they won the game 3-2, and they seem to find a way of winning. I think I've said this before, that people don't ever realise that. Yeah, they watch these tournaments in the summer, but the toll that takes, and the irony of Rodri coming out and openly saying they want to go on strike because they're playing too much football.
Yep.
It is up to him whether he plays for Spain or not. And I'm not saying don't play for your country, but I think that needs to be looked at a little bit. These friendlies and the Nations League that they've got are just adding load onto these players, and his injury may or may not have happened anyway. But the more...
Well, they've not really had a break, because of the Euros over the summer. So these top players, so most of the Premier League players are going to be playing for their country. And Spanish and Italian as well.
You look at the freshest player in the Man City team is Erling Haaland, who didn't have a tournament in the summer. Come back full of hat-tricks and goals all over.
So what's Grealish's excuse?
Grealish, it's just taking a little while to recover from his holiday.
That's what it is. Well, do you know what? Another thing happened last weekend, Sillett, and I thought of you straight away, but Ipswich's striker, Liam Delap.
Yeah, the boy Delap.
Your godson, am I right?
That's right, yeah.
So, son of Rory.
We saw him, me and my wife, Becky, went to see them. They stayed down the week before that, when they played Southampton. And we sat in the Ipswich fan end, but watched him, and then we had a chat with him afterwards. It's great to see him. He's matured a lot as a person. He used to be a little bit of a tyrant.
Did he?
And you can see that in his play sometimes. He is now a strapping 6'3", 6'4", quick centre forward.
Seems a very different player to his dad, from what I can remember.
Yeah, he is. He can throw it like his dad, but he's never going to be used to do that because you need him in the box. And yesterday he scored again. He scored 2 great goals the week before in the home draw against Aston Villa, and then yesterday...
And that was a massive point, I think, for Ipswich against Villa, because Villa, for me, are one of the informed teams of the last 6 months.
They absolutely are.
And Unai Emery is just doing a phenomenal job there for a manager who I thought did an average job at Arsenal, but did he do a great job with an average team?
The timing was wrong for that. It was like everyone's tried to replace Fergie, and that's a dynasty, and I think it's similar to what the timing of him going in after Arsene Wenger was just
too much.
Yeah.
Too big.
Too much.
And like you said, we're seeing it at Man United, and maybe we'll see it at Man City next season as well. Unless the fans get their way, because they're all trying to get him to stay, from what I've heard.
Yeah, but I think he's going to want to break.
Yeah,
because
it goes back to what we were just saying about the players. He's
right.
9 seasons full on, and we've looked at Klopp as well at Liverpool leaving, and timing of Slot coming in, he's just taken over with Klopp's team and tweaked a couple of defensive things, and they're flying as well.
Yeah.
So we saw Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, and Villa playing Champions League this week.
Yep.
And I watched the first half of Liverpool, and they just looked solid. We saw Arsenal we had a 2-0 win, City a 4-0 win, Liverpool a 1-0 win, or 2-0 win.
Yep.
But I put Villa on. I put the last 20 minutes of Villa on after watching Portsmouth commit suicide up at Stoke with a 6-1 defeat. And John Duran runs through the Bayern defence with the keeper off his line. He doesn't lob the keeper. It was almost like a cross type strike, wasn't it, into the net from a long way out. It's probably 20, 25, 30 yards out, somewhere there.
Great finish, and it
was a wonderful finish.
A couple of weeks before.
Yes.
I'm not sure how many goals he's got. It's probably 4 or 5.
He seems to be scoring some vital goals for Villa.
Super sub, though, isn't he? He keeps coming on a sub and scoring. I think he started, didn't he, in the Champions League game?
I'm going to be honest with you. I only picked it up at the end, but I saw the goal, and it was all about Harry Kane playing, back in England and all that stuff. But it wasn't really all about him. And he's been scoring unbelievable amounts of goals since having quite a tired Euros.
And breaking records for Bayern and England, hasn't he? So I did fancy Bayern to roll them over.
No, I did.
But I think there you saw the strength of Emery. Let's compare that to Dortmund beating Celtic 7-1.
Yes.
And to me, what's driving me mad, I go around an awful lot of games and speak to an awful lot of people in clubs, is this obsession of playing out from the back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's about. I think it's about, and I'm guessing it's about playing fancy, nice, pretty football and trying to play through lines.
I guess the way they look at it...
Do the fans all want that, though?
Well, whenever we see the goalie boot the ball out, it's a 50-50 ball, really, and you'd expect the defenders to win it. This is my just humble thoughts, when you're passing it around professional footballers, now whether defenders or strikers or midfielders, you'd expect the chances of them finding their man being better than 50%.
Shorter passes.
So I'm guessing. But there's times where you just see them knocking it around the box between each other, and it makes you, as a fan, it makes your heart absolutely...
You'd rather see it down the other end, wouldn't
you?
So
I can only think it's stats. Down to a stats thing where so much more computerization and knowledge and information that we've got to hand can only show that the teams that pass out from the back are getting a better possession ratio by the time they get to the halfway line than booting the ball up.
I think it depends on who they are.
I'm sure it does. It has to, doesn't it?
Yeah, because you look at Burnley last season, tried to do it. It didn't work for them.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Southampton at the moment. You went 1-0 up at Arsenal yesterday and then got caught being pressed in their own half. Turned over, goal, happened again. I think the week before it wasn't necessarily that, but chances are created. And if you're analysing the opposition and they're doing that, you will set traps and organise your team. And it would be a trigger that... here comes the drinks trolley from last night, by the way. Look at all that going on.
That's right, we've set this up. It's all sound effects.
It's not our drink trolley. That you'll set traps for them and there'll be triggers. So it could be a bouncing pass or a loose pass that is a yard behind, which means, right, as soon as that happens, we all go and we nick the ball.
Yeah.
And, that they're triggers that if you haven't got John Stones and Diaz doing it or Van Dijk and whoever's playing with him doing it, then the percentages will drop.
But they've still got to know that all their stats will be based on their players as opposed to other teams' players and so on.
Well, this is what the obsession is about, playing that way.
Yeah,
I just don't get it. I don't get it, and I do
it's
believe
just scary.
The fans are more scared when they're doing it than enjoying their football. I think, you know.
No,
so
I totally agree with you.
I'd even go back to Jim's quote of shots and crosses are what fans want to see.
Yeah.
The ball in the box, efforts on goal, crosses. They don't see many crosses anymore, you know. So,
well, I grew up. I wasn't into football at all till I was about 17, and then music became my job. So I went to watch Pompey versus Derby, funnly enough.
Right.
And I told you they lost 1-0. I want to say February '92.
Yeah,
you got it. You got it. And but I loved it. But I then started playing football as well, and I was a right winger. I've been called a right few things over the time that sounds like that. But so for me, I've just always loved watching people cross the ball. In fact, we had Mark Chamberlain on here, didn't we?
Yeah,
playing down the right wing. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And that, for me, that was what I love watching and seeing that happen. And for me, players like Beckham and Ronaldo when he was on the wing for Man United and sort of in that same position and seeing players do that, that's really exciting.
Exciting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And balls into the danger areas of the box.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Saka's cross yesterday was fantastic
Yes.
for Martinelli's goal.
Yeah.
Put it in, it used to be called the position of maximum opportunity.
Uh-huh.
POMO, Charles Hughes coaching manuals, right?
Uh-huh.
But he put it right in there. And I'll give you another one. Trevor Francis winning the European Cup for Notts Forest.
Mm-hmm.
John Robertson used to put a ball, he'd pick it up from nowhere. You think he's never going to get across in here, and he could. And they make chances, they make goals, crosses. So I think they will do a circle, and the wheel will turn back in favour of crossing at some stage.
I actually think it's just human cyclic behaviour of we're never happy with what it is, so we're going to keep changing it. There's only so many ways you can change it. I refer that to my children as well, and think my children are just like my parents,
right?
Because we all go against our parents, don't we? So I went against my parents, they went against me, you know, and all that. So you end up being like a generation, everything, you know.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we digress. Mate, Liam Delap, back on the Liam Delap, back on the score sheet yesterday.
Again, his fourth goal. He's up there with all the big hitters now in terms of goals scored in a team that hasn't won a game yet. So I think the extra credit is due to him there. You know, he's in amongst the Mo Salahs for 4 goals at this stage of the season. We mentioned that Ipswich haven't won a game.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are 4 Premier League teams that haven't won a game: Ipswich, Southampton, Crystal Palace, and there's one more. Come on.
Well, I want to say Everton, but
no, Everton have won.
No,
one.
they did, didn't they?
So it's the other team that came up. So Leicester won.
Oh, Leicester. No, Leicester have
won. So you got Ipswich,
Leicester,
Southampton, Crystal Palace, and Wolves are the other one.
Of course, Wolves. Yeah.
Which you'd have to say at this stage,
well,
the way things are going for Gary O'Neill, it doesn't look very positive.
Well, again, ex-Pompey centre midfielder, and I've got a little bit of soft spot for him. So when Harry brought the team up to see me in the West End, and then invited me back to Fratton Park, I got Gary O'Neill's shirt signed in the dressing room by all the team.
Nice one.
And it's hanging up in my wardrobe. It needs to be framed. That's the thing. Yeah. But that's just another job that's never happened.
You could say he's been framed at Wolverhampton. Well, they sold his best players, didn't they?
Mate.
Kilman and Neto.
Yes.
Which is a big hole in his squad.
Yeah.
Which has made life difficult.
But also, you know, he's batting up there with the big guns, and like, really, has he? What's his background of management
He's had a couple of spells.
Because he went to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
You know, we saw him there do well.
Jonathan Woodgate at Bournemouth. Temporary.
That's right. Yeah.
And then stayed there when John Woodgate left. Took over as temporary manager.
Mm-hmm.
And did really well keeping them up when they had a thinner squad than they've got now. And it was a big surprise to everyone that they replaced him with, I think his name's Areola, the Bournemouth manager.
That's right, yeah, it was a surprise, wasn't it?
But he turned Bournemouth around a little bit last season.
But he had a good season at Wolves, didn't he, last season? But like you said, with the players,
with the top players, yeah.
And
they've broken that squad up a bit.
Yeah.
But I still think that they're giving goals away. Another one that's seems to be a little bit obsessed with playing through lines where at times you just have to play to your strengths, you know, and they haven't seemed to be doing that. A team that do play to their strengths, and he'll be in my top 5 because I love him.
Go on.
Is Thomas Frank at Brentford.
Well.
So 4 games on the trot, they've scored a goal within 75 seconds.
Now, I didn't know that stat. I know they've been scoring quick, and I know yesterday was really quick because my son was telling me all the scores as they were coming out. But
4 games on the trot, that's incredible. And it's not coincidence.
it can't be, can it?
No. So either they've one of two things. They're either from their own kickoff, they have a plan. And if the opposition have a kickoff, he's also doing something very quick. So they will analyse the opposition's kickoffs. Say, right, this is where it goes. Let's hit that. And there's a hole here. Let's bang it in there, and let's see what we can do. Because it's not an area that's been delved into in terms of a tactical ploy before.
The thing for me is Brentford are batting above their weight really in the Premier League team and doing so well. And with Ivan Toney being their star man over the last few seasons, then being out because of betting irregularities, I think, if I'm right.
$5 on Wolverhampton to win,
something like that. They lost him, then he came back. Now he's gone off. Where's he gone now?
He's in Saudi now.
Saudi, right? So he's gone for the money.
Yep.
And I think who's going to score their goals? And they've got Wissa and Buemo. Is that how you say?
Yeah, I like him.
Mate, and he scored a great penalty yesterday. But he seems to be scoring every match.
He does,
I think every home match.
He's a difficult opponent. He's strong as a bull. He is. Runs.
We're seeing some great football from Brentford. And
they play a little bit more direct at times.
Yeah.
And they put it behind you, and they chase and force the crowd. Get behind them, and there's corners and throw-ins. An interesting point there about getting the crowd behind us. But there's been a lot of complaints on social media about players and managers trying to whip up the crowd with this waving their arms and saying, "Come on, make some noise." And I don't like that. I mean, why? The way you make the crowd behind you is by performing.
By performing well, correct.
Yeah, I mean, you'd know that more than anyone.
Well, absolutely.
You don't wave your arms at the crowd. Say, "I'm going to sing in a minute." Wave your.
Do you know? It's an interesting one actually, because I've been in exactly that situation. And I remember one of the first shows I did was Birmingham NEC, so 16,000 people. Jasper Carrott's Christmas Cracker, 1997. And it was the first time.
Jasper played him at Golf Day, by the way.
Did he?
Yeah, great guy.
Brilliant. And I just remember doing this and just suddenly seeing 16,000 people copy me.
Right.
But it's because, again, I wasn't instructing them so much as they joined in with me with everything that we were doing. And the music's great and the performance levels were fantastic.
Right.
And bring them along with you, but don't tell them what to do.
No.
And that's exactly it.
100%.
So,
I just don't like it. I think I'm with you, and with music, it's possibly different. You can get them to clap, and it
well, they
starts
sing
a
along
tempo,
with you, and they say,
along,
it's all there. The energy that you create, but just tell them to do it.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. You know, my instinct when somebody tells me what to do is tell them to F off. So no, really interesting.
Yeah.
You talked about teams that haven't won. I also know our sort of South Coast teams where we are. We're down in Portsmouth again today at the Marriott. Pompey have not managed to win yet. In fact, they're struggling down the depths of the Championship. But they seem to be able to draw home matches.
Yeah.
And had a couple of good draws away at the start of the season. But again, I look at it and I think they've played 6 out of the top teams in their first 8 games. Yeah. And I hope there's going to time to settle, but I did expect them to win against Oxford yesterday.
It would have been a game they had
a team that came up with
on their graph for 3 points for sure. I think if you go back to our pre-season podcast, we looked at the first 8 games, and I think I said if they come away with 3 points, they'd have done well.
Right. Okay. So you're seeing 5 points as overachievement.
8 or 9. Games they've had now. I'm not sure. It's 8.
I think it's 8 games.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad return from those games they've had. The big shock in there was getting beat 6 at Stoke, and apparently that was a poor performance.
Well, I watched 10 minutes of it, and that was I watched 12 minutes from 41 minutes to 53, and they conceded 5.
Right. Okay.
All there was 1-1 before that. It was terrible, and there was big changes in the team.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper change and so on.
Right.
So but we'll see now what happens in the next 8 games.
The only thing is, I've looked at their fixtures now. My boy Frankie goes to a lot of the games now. And he said, I think that the fixtures look better. They actually don't look that much better because they've got, in theory, lesser. They haven't got the top 6 to play. But out of the next 7 games, they've got 2 home games.
Right,
okay. So the teams they're playing will be looking at Portsmouth as the games they must win.
Yes.
Your Cardiffs,
Absolutely.
Blackburn are actually quite high. They play them, so they've got still.
They've got a lot of work, but also when where they are now is there's a perception and there's a lack of confidence within the team. Whereas you start the season off, you're all on the same level playing field. You think you know where you should be.
Yeah.
But now there's a lack of confidence.
Yeah.
And that goes. I know that goes a long way in any team, in any group, and they are fighting now.
Yeah.
And
it is. It's going to be a season-long
and we're seeing
fight for
exactly the same just down the road in Southampton.
Yep.
Who lost to Bournemouth on Monday, so South Coast
that was
derby
a poor
there.
Performance, yeah.
And and we constantly each year see Brighton just to overachieve again. You've got links down at Brighton. But they seem to
their
recruit.
Recruitment is well documented as being top notch
with the players and the managers.
Yep, players and the managers.
I think so. They're playing today against Tottenham, so we don't know the result of that yet, even though this podcast will probably go out afterwards just because of my slow producing skills.
It's going to be 2-1 to Brighton.
Is that what it's going to be?
Yeah. I like Big Ange at Tottenham, but I saw them play there last year, I think, with Big Ange, and it was they played the highest line I've ever seen.
Really?
And they gave away so many chances. Tottenham.
Well,
if they do that again today, they'll get beat.
My son, as an Arsenal fan, will be very happy with your prediction.
Right, okay.
So now, the one other thing I wanted to mention, and we always talk about, yesterday the top three teams, top four, so City, Arsenal, Liverpool all won yesterday. But again, City made it quite difficult. They played Fulham, and I predicted Fulham are going to be a real challenge for City. I think Fulham have looked fantastic this season. I think they've got some great players in there. They've taken a couple of Arsenal players along with them as well.
Yep.
And one of my favourite players for them, and I've always liked him, is Traore.
Adama Traore.
He looks like a real stocky guy, fast winger. Again, I talked about how I like wingers and so on. He missed a hat-trick of chances yesterday. He outran Kyle Walker,
didn't he?
And who does that?
Yeah,
and,
I would have liked to have seen that race, actually.
They must have been flying.
Yeah.
And you don't. And you watch TV because the camera moves with it. You don't get the sense of it. I have the same problem with Formula One, that the camera follows the car.
Yeah.
When you stood at the track, you feel the car. You feel it, and you feel football as well, don't you?
Yeah.
And I actually, when I watched the chances Fulham had against City yesterday, they should have won that.
Yeah, they should have got something out of the game, for sure.
And that tells all the other teams something.
Yep.
Now, you've mentioned, though, that the way
Inzaghi's set up with Milan at Man City, I thought was really good tactically. We had him in our five-a-side team of the week, didn't we, Inzaghi, the way set up. I think teams will now look at Man City and say, okay, we can probably be a bit braver without Rodri playing in their team.
Yes.
So I think there's chances, and for them, Arsenal struggled to get over the line in the last couple of games. They made it difficult yesterday. Went
1-0 down.
Yeah, and Liverpool were unconvincing, though professional, against Crystal Palace, winning 1-0. So I think that it's, we don't know how Chelsea are going to finish today. They were 1-1 at the last look, but I think there's a chance this year that someone could sneak in and surprise a few people still.
Well, I was playing with a Chelsea fan, playing golf on Friday. It was my birthday, Sil, so I made a decision.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, mate. Thank you very much. Plan A was I was going to Vegas.
Right.
But the tax bill came in, and that put the kibosh on that. Yeah, it was a bit more than I expected. So I decided I wanted to play 36 holes of golf.
Yep.
I don't know if it made my wife happy or not, but
she was delighted.
But she was ill, to be fair. She's been suffering a bit and recovering from a back operation as well.
Yeah.
So she met me for lunch, but I played in the morning and against a bunch of some musician friends. But in the afternoon, our friend Mickey Baker.
Yeah, he gets a mention, Mickey, doesn't he?
He does. He likes it. He's doing all right. But we just want another party, is there? Yeah. And so he came up and we played 18 holes, and we were talking about Chelsea.
Yeah.
And I said, Mickey, they've been so inconsistent with the amount of players they've got, the amount of money they've spent, the quality they've got.
Yeah.
But I quite like Maresca because he seems a bit understated.
Yep.
And I think they're actually going to have a good season. I've got a feeling about it. They can't keep being inconsistent and changing the manager again, because I thought Poch way walked away.
Everyone,
it was.
Really?
But I think everybody's expecting them to be inconsistent. And I just got a feeling. I
They
think
seem to be finding their feet, and they didn't finish last season badly at all, did they?
No, they didn't.
And yes, they've added more players, but for me, one player I wouldn't like to play against is Nicholas Jackson. His mobility and his pace and his agility.
Well, he missed a lot of chances last season, but is it just age?
He's still a baby.
He's
20 or
he just
22,
needs minutes on the pitch.
Yeah, his goal record is good in the Premier League. So I think give him a time that other people have had to find their feet in the Premier League at that age.
Yep.
He's not much older than Liam Delap, and we're bigging Liam up. So he's done really well, Nicholas Jackson. I think there's a lot more to come from him.
Well, no, it's fascinating. Now there was now who was the guy who scored for Leicester yesterday? Buonanotte or something like that?
Buonanotte, he's on loan from Brighton. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Just means good night, Irene, doesn't it? Buonanotte.
But he's 19, and if you're good enough, you're old enough. Is that the phrase?
That's the
something
phrase,
like that. So
yep.
But mate, we've talked a lot about football.
We
need to look at some other sports, and we mentioned we were on a golf tournament, like a little Ryder Cup version of ours, up in Wallingford last week. There's the Alfred Dunhill Cup this week, not Cup. Championship, whatever it is, which I want to talk about. But last week there was the Spanish Open.
The Spanish Open was great.
What happened there, Sil? Because I didn't see it.
Yeah, it went to a playoff between the two Spaniards, John Rahm and Angel Hidalgo. Hidalgo had built up a sort of small cult following throughout the tournament. He has a funny swing. He goes for everything. He tries to hit every flag, and some he misses by a long way. But he got in the clubhouse, bogeyed one of the last 3 holes. Otherwise, he'd have won outright. But Rahm got a birdie to take it to a playoff, and then Hidalgo birdied the playoff hole.
Brilliant.
And it was fantastic. The crowd went bananas because, as I said, he'd become very popular. He's playing this week, but not to the same level he did in Spain last week.
Well, it's tough, isn't it, when you're new up there, and to maintain that level, it takes a lot of experience.
There's a few more players with notable players, as you mentioned. There's quite a few live players being invited
so
in this weekend.
I saw he's up there, up at St Andrews is where it's being held. The thing I noticed, Tyrrell Hatton, who was leading going into the final day today, shot a 61.
He did.
Course record?
Yep, at St Andrews.
At St Andrews, so
it's
off the white.
It's a different format. So they play the first 3 rounds on different courses. So they play Kingsbarn, Carnoustie, I think, and St Andrews.
And when did they do this?
So it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the 3 qualifying
So they're actually
rounds.
moving around?
Yeah, so they play the 3 different courses. There's some different opinions about that because the weather obviously can change and the courses can change.
But they're all quite local to each other, aren't
Scotland,
aren't they? Yeah.
So
but also surely the infrastructure of the crowds and all of that must be really complicated to have 3 setups, and infrastructure.
They do really well with it, and it's a pro-am as well, or celeb-am.
So who's playing?
Is a pro-am. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So you've got people like Ian Botham, Kevin Peterson, Alan Lamb, the cricketers.
Yes. Yeah.
Piers Morgan, Bill Murray, the actor, Ghostbusters guy, and many other films.
Wow.
AP McCoy from the racing world. He's playing. There's a bunch of actors and other celebs.
Why do they do this? Is because to me it seems like a distraction to the golf, which in what is a DP tour event.
It's a very old event as well. Been going for a long time.
There's a lot of history behind
Alfred Dunhill. I wouldn't even know what that is, but apparently it's a fag, isn't it?
Well, that's how I would have thought it.
It's a cigarette.
And I thought it was horse racing, not golf. I don't know.
But most other sports are banned from sponsorship, aren't they? So, but I presume that's what it is. But they can also pick a partner to play as long as they have a certain handicap. So there's 2 concurrent tournaments: the usual DP World Tour event, which is the usual medal play, and then that score can be in conjunction with your partner, who is a celebrity or an amateur. And then that is the best score on each hole between you and your partner, and that's again a medal score over the 4 rounds. And Hatton's winning that. As we speak.
And am I right in saying he won it before as well?
He's won it twice before.
And who's his playing partner then?
His dad.
Stop it.
No, his dad is playing with him,
His dad?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And McIlroy played with his dad as well, but I don't think they went through.
Okay.
They missed the cut as a pair, but and Rory's not been great this weekend. But they've got 2 more tournaments before the European season comes to a climax in Dubai. so there's about 3 more to go
Right.
prior to that, and I think one is back in Spain,
Mm-hmm.
the Andalusian Masters. Then I can't tell you where the next one is. Then they go into the Middle East.
Well, mate, it fascinates me, all these different, because we've talked about the FedEx Cup, we talk about the Ryder Cup, we've had the President's Cup out in America, rest of the world against America and all that. I didn't realise, I genuinely didn't realise there's so many different events. I follow the majors, I follow the Ryder Cup. But so that's...
I'm a bit of an anorak, aren't I?
Well, you are, but you start a new job this week, so I'm curious now how much time you have on your hands moving forward.
It might be a struggle.
There was something I picked up on the cricket this week, Sil, about Ben Stokes signing a New England contract.
Yep.
And I went, contract for England? Surely you've got to play well for your county to get into the England team.
Well, originally you do, but then there's the England and the ECB and the International Cricket Board, the ICB, I think it's called the ICC. So maybe that's the International Cricket Committee. I'm not sure. I'm guessing the acronym there.
Yep.
But that supplies through television, through sponsorship, through big gates. That subsidises all the counties, the 18 counties.
Well, I know. I only watch international cricket.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm no different to most other people.
Yeah.
Watching any cricket. I don't. I live in Hampshire, but I don't really follow Hampshire.
Right. I'm a big Hampshire fan. Yeah.
There we are. There we are. So you do follow it more.
Yeah.
But
so England can name those players that they're contracting, which means they have first dibs instead of the county on that player.
Okay.
But the county still have to put them under a contract as well for when they want to use them, when they're not playing international cricket, but they play an awful lot of cricket. So Stokes will hardly play a game for Durham. He sort of used it as a warm-up this year, played a little bit of cricket prior to the Test series starting.
But of course, for the games he does play for Durham, that's got to bring some gate receipts in when he is playing.
Puts more bums on seats.
But I went to watch Surrey play in Guildford. I saw they were playing. I thought, I'm going to go and park in there and have a little look. It's probably free parking, probably. But I went and had a look, and there was about 10, 15 people watching, and I just thought, this is not
that's how
good.
It works. The counties survive. They do have a lot of memberships, so they're always on a membership drive, so they get some income through that and some sponsorship income. But the drawdown from Sky money and TV money and the ECB is what subsidises and keeps the wheels going around for the counties.
But again, because the world has sped up and TV coverage is so good, do you think that's another example of cricket is just too long a game? And
I prefer the long form of cricket.
Well, I do, and the traditional side of it. But that's okay when it's international level and whatever. But when it's week after week after week, very true.
Used to that. We're brought up on that.
So that's new information to me, basically.
Right, okay.
Now, have you got anything else to say on the cricket side of things?
No. Well, they start the Pakistan series tomorrow.
Okay.
First Test match in Pakistan.
Okay.
And the women's T20 is underway. England won their first game against Bangladesh. Weren't convincing. It was a spinning wicket in Sharjah. You've been there. You must have been there.
Now,
Sharjah.
I've never been to Bangladesh or Pakistan, but I have been to India.
Right.
And it's one of my...
Where's Sharjah? That's in Dubai, isn't it?
I don't know, mate.
Or the Arab Emirates, I think.
I've not heard of it, so I'm going to have to look that one up.
Right, okay.
I was in Abu Dhabi for the Formula One last season, the final race, and I go to Dubai quite a lot, so I go to that area for work. But but I don't know Sharjah.
It's the Women's T20 World Cup has just started, so Australia will be up there as favourites, as will England. But the wickets already look like they're spinning rather than pace, and that could be a little bit of a problem for England.
But wouldn't you? And I would expect women's cricket. Probably the spinning is much more favourable than fast bowling. I don't know. I'm wrong. I'm making assumptions here that I shouldn't.
Some of the bowlers are quicker now than they were. I think the average speed is up in terms of the fastest bowlers. But it's just the pace of the pitches out there. They're very slow.
Okay.
They're very dry. The more dry the pitch is, the more the ball will grip and turn. So,
well, mate,
you learn something every day, don't you?
You do.
Yeah.
Well, it is very dry out there. It makes sense. And my example of going to United Arab Emirates. I really can't say a lot today.
Auctioneer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
We'll move on swiftly. But for me, thinking about India as well, that's it's a very hot humid country,
Right.
and I'm guessing the cricket over there is very different because it's a lot more moist in the atmosphere.
A little bit, but they prepare their wickets very dry as well.
Do they?
Yeah. So, having said that, the last bunch of top bowlers that India have produced have been quicker bowlers.
Right.
And it's just the way it's happened. I think they felt they needed something. For me, Jasprit Bumrah who's their quickest, bowls off about 12 paces, but it's a weird action that he has, and he is quick. You wouldn't want to face him in the back garden.
Interesting. When cricket was the only game I used to like playing at school.
Right.
But, we'd have rugby in the first term, autumn term, hockey in the spring term, and then cricket in the summer term. There was no football or anything at my school, and I just liked cricket because I could get a bit of a tan. I was quite a good catcher of the ball, but I wanted to be a spin bowler.
Did you?
But I never got the chance, really. They never really picked me because I wasn't that... didn't really show any aptitude for sport at that point in time whatsoever. But we move on. We move on to my favourite sport, as you know, one of my favourite sports, in Formula One.
Yep.
We've got a bit of a break at the moment. There's a gap of 3 weekends off in Formula One. So we're on week 2 of that, halfway through.
Yep.
And... but there's been a bit of news that Daniel Ricciardo, was former Red Bull driver to Max Verstappen, but when Verstappen was there, they could tell he was like, hold on, they're going his direction. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So he went to Renault, he went to McLaren, he's been at AlphaTauri and what is now the Red Bull Junior Team RB. V-Carb, in fact, they're called because of the sponsorships. V is just not, don't ask.
I don't want to know.
No, exactly. But Daniel Ricciardo, Australian driver, he's been a massive personality in Formula One. He's won 8 races for Red Bull, could have been a world champion, but he's been kicked out of the car. And just not performing is the best thing I could say, really.
Is
not
it a
delivering.
Driven business?
Look at you using your puns. You know it is, as every sports business is. So we've got Liam Lawson, a New Zealand driver who came in and replaced Ricciardo last year because he broke his hand in a crash.
Right.
So he's in for the last 6 races of the season, starting in America, in Texas, Austin, Texas, in 2 weeks' time.
Austin, I've been there.
Mate, I've never been there.
Oh, fantastic
I was
place,
booked
Austin,
to do the Grand Prix and I couldn't go because I was away on tour.
All the restaurants and bars are really sort of new and down by the river and everything. So, big universities there, or colleges.
Well, Sil, you haven't been away for a while. What are you doing week after? Perhaps we should. I don't know if you'd be allowed, mate.
No, I wouldn't.
So that's been going on. So we've got a driver change. So that's exciting to see.
Yep.
And also, there's been the news that Renault have decided to pull out of Formula One, their F1 program of engines. It's a huge thing because they've been in Formula One since 1977.
Wow.
And they've won a number of championships with Williams and Red Bull and so on. I can't remember now. Possibly McLaren as well. But they've just decided that they're going to put all their energy into electric,
right?
Which Formula One isn't going to be.
It's not going to be electric, is it?
It's not.
No.
So the cables aren't long enough.
Call them petrol heads, right? Is that the new one, petrol head?
Well, do you know what? I had a Tesla, mate. So I'm going to say I'm not a petrol head.
I'll never forget getting in that Tesla.
That was outside here.
Oh, no, it was in.
It was outside. It was outside.
Coming out of the golf course in Whiteley.
Oh, was it there I did it?
Yeah.
I remember doing it at the traffic lights just down here.
Oh, man.
Oh, mate, that's funny.
G5, not for me.
The G-force on the acceleration, the torque of the... And I had a performance, didn't I? Model 3 performance, which is meant to be the fastest car, faster than the McLaren road car in acceleration.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I did that with a friend of mine. In fact, he rang me today, Chris Jarvis, who's a presenter on CBeebies.
Okay.
BBC. My kids think... When he came to my house for the first time, it's like Robert De Niro had walked in there. My kids were just like, oh, wow. It was amazing. But so I did the same trick to him and he vowed never to get in the car with me again. Made him sick.
No.
But anyway, so we move on. So that's my car story. But yeah, they're doing it. Now, Sil,
before you move on.
Yeah, go on.
1977 is a big year, right? That's when Renault started. You said...
Yeah, when they first...
It's a bit geeky to rock that number up, that fact.
Well, I'm quite good with years.
About 90. So,
go on.
Which famous person died in August 1977?
Well, I'm going to say, thinking about my age, it was probably Elvis.
Elvis, yeah.
There we go. Look at that.
Good one.
Yeah.
Who won women's singles Wimbledon title that year?
I'm going to say, not Navratilova, the woman with the dark hair, and I can't think of her name. Go on.
She's not my lover.
Oh, Billie Jean.
No, that's wrong. Virginia Wade.
And that's the one I meant. That's the one with the dark hair. Looked like a bit of a
sucked
perm.
you in there, didn't I?
You did,
Yeah,
exactly. So, but I'm right, aren't I?
You
Virginia
are.
Wade is the
Virginia
woman with
Wade,
the dark
yeah.
hair.
Yeah, it was the Jubilee year, I think.
It was. Now I know that because my family business bought a removals van that year, and they used to have a white stripe around every van as part of the livery, and they did a silver stripe
for the Jubilee.
with the silver Jubilee.
Right,
so I always remember that. Well done, mate.
1977, yeah.
And I was 3 that year, which makes me now. What I had a birthday this week, didn't I? As you know,
yeah. So
a big one.
The big 5-0.
I did, mate. I did. The big 5-0.
Special prize is a podcast with Sil.
Feels exactly the same, doesn't it, Sil? You know, we had your 60th last year.
Yeah, that was great.
And
I always remember that.
You celebrated a bit better than me. I was just on the golf course. Went and had a Chinese with my sister and my dad and the family.
Right, nice.
And then we went up to the Formula One exhibition at the Excel Centre. So I should mention that as well.
Yeah.
So first we couldn't find the entrance. We walked in the Excel Centre.
It's difficult, the Excel Centre.
We found the entrance and we walked in and there's this big atrium with all the off rooms, the warehouses where they do the exhibitions.
Yeah.
We got right the way to the end of the corridor, right? Where is it? And then I asked this security guard, who went, "Oh, mate, you have to go out the main entrance." And it's just there to the left. I went, "Really?" We'd walk past it. But we got in there, and I have to say, they've got loads. And if you're into your Formula One, you've got loads. And they've got Ayrton Senna's 1988 car there. They've got Max Verstappen's and Lewis Hamilton's, of course, they've got those.
Yeah.
They've got more helmets, signed helmets from drivers, the actual ones that were used than you could shake a stick at, and overalls. They've got loads of engines you can look at and parts. But the absolute amazing thing they've got is Bahrain 2020, Roman Grosjean's Haas car clipped Daniel Kvyat's Toro Rosso at the time and went straight into the barriers nose first, went through the barriers, split in half and burst into flames. And after 33 seconds of me I've got a tuna sandwich in my mouth. Me and my son can remember this. It was this massive ball of fire, just total explosion. And like we're seeing over Beirut and Lebanon and all that stuff at the moment. And it's literally what it looked like. From out of the flames comes
the driver,
Roman Grosjean, and it was all slow motion, and his shoe got caught in the pedals in the crash, and he pulled his foot out of the shoe, which stayed in the car, broke his ankle in the process, but climbed out of the car 33 seconds in a ball of flame. And the video footage is unbelievable, but they actually have the monocoque of the car all burnt to cinders, all there, with videos of the event. It was, for me, look it up on YouTube, Roman Grosjean, Bahrain 2020. It's one of the most spectacular bits of motorsport history that's happened. How that man got out, you know, it's unbelievable to watch. And there's a Netflix thing about it all in Drive to Survive, and he's now racing in IndyCar. So it's for me that was the big thing really at this thing, to see that. And I know Harrison was blown away, but he said, "Is it the real one?" I'm like, "Of course it's the real." So it's fantastic, and that's off to Canada in December, the exhibition. Right. So if anybody can get along to it, I really recommend it. Correct. Yeah. Now then, we have our 5-a-side team of the week, Sil, that you've come up with, and I love this idea. Who have you got on your 5-a-side team, Sil?
So I've gone for Angel Hidalgo, who won the Spanish Open last week.
Yeah, you mentioned him beating John Rahm.
Yeah, it took a lot of bottle, that did, and his first win on the tour. Mm-hmm. So in front of his own fans, it was really good and a great occasion.
Anything at home has to be the best.
It does. And it's a random win for him and the tour, but it was brilliantly received by the fans, and he played up to it. It was great.
Well, he would have done a home crowd for anything, to see them see their home guy win. Yeah. I was at Monaco to see Charles Leclerc win in the Ferrari this year, and then I was at Silverstone to see Lewis Hamilton win as well. Yeah. So I know exactly what that feels like to be in that crowd. So good on him. I think that's amazing.
No, it's brilliant. We've both gone for our boy Liam Delap,
and I think rightly so.
Yeah, he's hit the Premier League.
He's made his mark.
He has made
already.
His mark. Yeah,
4 goals. You say he's on
4 goals in a team that hasn't won a game. I think that deserves a lot of credit.
Unbelievable. And the thing is, what we're going to see is the teams that stay up are the ones that are going to score goals.
Yeah,
I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
More than the ones that keep clean sheets. I know it's 50-50. You know, you've got to do one or the other. But if you can't score goals, you're not going to win games.
No, that's right.
Clean sheets, you can draw games.
Yeah, that's right. Now, your third choice?
Well, hold on. We haven't done my first choice yet. We were talking about
your first choice.
So we'll go back. So first choice is you've gone Hidalgo. What did you say it? Hidalgo.
Yeah.
And I'm going Daniel Ricciardo for his career in Formula One, which looks like it's come to an end. We've discussed it. He's in my team of the week. Number 2, we've both gone Liam Delap for hitting the ground running in the Premier League in a tough team. Who's your third choice?
I've gone for the Brentford manager. For me, should Erik ten Hag be disposed at some point,
which I
could see
surprised.
Thomas Frank being a great choice for Manchester United, because I think he plays attacking football. He's very clever with some of the things he's done. Hence the way they've scored these goals from kickoffs, and he does things a little bit differently. But you go to that stadium, the new Brentford Stadium, the atmosphere is fantastic. And I know and I was drumming the waving your arms to drum support from the fans. But he actually, they go around and they appreciate the fans, and he makes sure they do it after every game, and the atmosphere in there is fantastic.
Well, and that's a snowball effect, because it does build up over time, because if the fans appreciate the fact you're showing appreciation, it all snowballs and so on. A friend of mine was actually responsible for that stadium.
Really?
He's Alan Walsh, who I don't know what he is, whether it's marketing officer, chief marketing officer, or whatever he is at Brentford, but he's a sax player.
Is he?
Yeah, and friend of mine, and he's always said to me, if you ever want to come along to Manchester, I've never actually done it.
Can't do it.
I know, it's ridiculous. Always busy. But
third choice for you.
So my third choice, I'm actually going to go with their striker Brian Mbeumo, who seems to have scored in every home match, seems to be always on the score sheet, taking over from Ivan Toney. He looked great with a penalty yesterday. He's hit some volleys. Phenomenal volley, unbelievable. So I don't quite know how many goals he scored, but the volley he scored, I think it was last week, or he's had a couple actually.
I think dramatic,
brilliant,
spectacular goal, doesn't he?
So he's my third choice.
Right.
Who's your fourth choice?
The way they set up against Bayern Munich, I think Unai Emery, and the way Villa have started the season has to be a pick at some point. And I think for the win against Bayern, I've put him as my fourth choice. I thought he went against a lot of the things they probably do week in, week out to make sure they got a result. They were solid. They were difficult to pass through in the final third, closed gaps down that made, creating chances for Bayern wasn't easy. And then they got their goal on the break with your man, who's going to be
Well, this is the interesting thing. So John Duran, who scored the goal in the Champions League against Bayern this week. He's my pick, because he seems to have come from nowhere. Does seem to be a super sub. I just like, mate, you're just doing the business in a good team. Could be a great team the way they're going. I just thought, wow, and I was so pleased. I turned Liverpool over, Portsmouth over to go and watch that, and got to see that goal. So he's my fourth choice. Who's your fifth choice?
My fifth choice is the MVP for the cricket season, and voted by his peers as the player of the season.
What's MVP?
Most valuable player.
Thank you.
Right. So that was another. He won 5 awards in total. So he cleaned the board with all the awards at the end of season cricket awards. Liam Dawson, who's played a lot of international cricket for England at one-day level, but has never really had a chance in the Test match team. I look at who's gone and playing in Pakistan, and this guy's figures this year would wipe the floor with the other guys that have gone and played in the team. He's a left-arm spinner, so he'd be perfect for Pakistan. He's batting now. I think he scored 500s this year for Hampshire.
Wow.
And taken over 50 wickets, 75 wickets in total, which, as I said, the numbers are unbelievable what he's achieved. But he's matured and got better with age. So for me, like you said earlier on, if you're good enough, you're old enough. He might be 33, but for me, he's the best all-rounder, spinning all-rounder that we've got by a country distance, and should be in Pakistan right now.
Brilliant. Well, I think with your choices of Liam Delap and Liam Dawson, you've got to have a five-a-side team that is Liam D.
Right, Liam
Can
D.
you do any more?
I can go with Liam G, Liam Gallagher.
Oh, of course.
But some might say that would be a bad choice.
Very good. Very good. My fifth choice is Tyrrell Hatton, just for his course record at St Andrews, a course that I would love to play. I've never been there, actually, Sil.
I've been there,
Have you?
I've been there, yeah.
I've done Glen Eagles, but not St Andrews yet, so that's on my to-do list.
We were up at, I was doing some work with Kilmarnock Football Club, and I had a lad over, a really good player from Costa Rica, training with them, and they wanted to sign him. Visa-wise, it was a little bit difficult, and I said, one place I've got to go because I'm an hour away. It's St Andrews, so I drove him there. He went, "What is this golf?" There's
Don't
no
play it
real
over there
golf
at
in
all.
Costa Rica, but I think there's 1 or 2 courses now, but they're a long way from San Jose. But I went there, had a look around the museum, and stood on the first tee, but didn't have any clubs with me, and didn't want to pay the 200 quid to play there either. But
No, absolutely. Well, I'm sure we must know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody that wants us to play on it.
yeah,
Do a podcast from
get
St
the guy
Andrews.
that built the stadium to.
Exactly. Surely he knows. Surely he knows. So look, there's our 5-a-side teams of the week. Everybody deserves to be in there, and I'm really liking this little format that we do. It's great fun.
Good fun.
So we did plan to do a podcast from the Springs Resort in Wallingford last week, but it just wasn't.
We were drowned.
We
weren't we?
were a
soaked,
mess and
yeah.
absolutely shattered. So we brought it back here to the Marriott in Portsmouth. They've looked after us again this week. It's very quiet in here. I've got to be honest.
Yeah.
You said you went to the village and it was packed out with the football this afternoon.
It was,
so,
Which is no, thanks to the Marriott for putting us up, and I'm sure we'll be back. Good place to come and stay if you're coming to Portsmouth.
Absolutely. To watch Pompey draw at home again. Brilliant. Listen, that's the end of it. We're Sillett and Reevesy, so it's goodbye from me, Darren Reeves.
Goodbye from me, Neil Sillett.
There we go. Take care. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.